Welcome to Hashtag Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, once again, we have assembled the Avengers of Bills YouTube for you tonight to try to break down the Buffalo Bills victory over the Tennessee. Oh, wait, that's Tuesday. My bad. Sorry, guys. So we're going to try to break down the Tennessee Titans game. We're going to recap a little bit of the Raiders game, and we're going to talk about all the chaos of you-know-what. I can't say it or we'll get demonetized. So I just want to make sure that I bring on these fine gentlemen who decided to devote their time to Hashtag Sports and the Hashtag Nation today. First and foremost, from Believers Talk, a man who not only talks about the Bills but also covers the Sabres. Greg, do you know anything about hockey? By the way, I was just curious.
How's that game work?
Do you know?
Is that the one with the? Is that the one with the brushes that you scrub? I like it every Olympics.
Joe, the jack of all trades, covering the Sabres and the Bills on his channel. Joe, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing well. Took a little while to get down here, so sorry I'm late, but yeah, gonna have a good time tonight.
Oh, that's all right. We wait for you. We wait hours for you, Joe. It doesn't matter. Next up, the young buck from the Cold Front Report, a guy who gets carded walking into a Chuck E. Cheese, Clayton Garrett. Clayton, how you doing, buddy?
Wow. Okay.
The beard helps. It's sneaky.
The beard does help sometimes on some occasions, but I'm doing all right. It's been a good week so far. Hopefully, we have some football to watch this week with the Bills, and maybe not. We'll see.
Absolutely, no question. And coming in, making his first appearance on the Roundtable, a man who's covered in a suit by day and covers analytics at night, the voice of Cover One, Greg Thompson. Greg, how you doing tonight, buddy?
What's going on, guys?
Short and sweet. That works. That also works. And
I'm ready to get into this. I got a lot of frustration to get out.
Absolutely. I'm looking over at Dan on the screen right now, and I can just see he's kind of, I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation, the majority stockholder of Plenty of Fish, Dan Mitchell, joining us from the Don Mafia. Dan, how you doing tonight, buddy? You're muted, boss.
You're muted.
And sorry, I was looking at my shares real fast. But yeah, and so I'm really excited about, this weekend. I am under the impression that there's about a 30% chance that we do play this game. But if not, what not a better punishment than sending the Buffalo Bills to Nashville to beat up on a high school team this coming Tuesday.
Damn right.
Oh, we're going to have a lot of fun. So, yes, Hashtag Nation. Before, in all seriousness, I just wanted to say before we get into everything, I can't thank these gentlemen enough. If you don't go down in the description and follow all of their YouTubes and where you can find them on social media, you're doing yourself a disservice. All their Twitter handles are under their names. These guys grind it out every day to try to give you their slant on the Buffalo Bills and Bills news. So make sure you go and give them all a follow. They have great content, and I couldn't be happier having these guys on here tonight. So without any further ado, I want to start with Greg because he's coming out of the blocks really hot. Greg, your initial reaction of the game being played on a Tuesday and what is going on in Tennessee?
So obviously, like everybody else, my emotions have gone the full gamut here in, debating on, do we want a forfeit or a cancellation, or do we create some weird week 18 that doesn't even exist? So getting the game played this week selfishly is my preference. I think the Bills are ready for this game. I don't mind that. I think Tennessee is going to be well shorthanded. I'd love to be able to, get a win over an undefeated team and move on to the Chiefs. I have a lot of concerns. Are we going to make it 5 days without any more positive tests? Do Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott feel comfortable the game can be played safely? Do players like Trey White feel like the game can be played safely? I have a lot of concerns, but assuming that all those boxes get checked where they do make it 5 days with no positive tests, that the team is reassured that they can play this game safely, I honestly think this is our best case scenario, that they don't have to mess with the bye weeks. They don't have to shuffle other things around and create some week that doesn't exist. They get this game played. They get it, in our rear view window and move on, and just hopefully get that W and run away.
Clayton, what do you got?
I mean, obviously, I was really conflicted yesterday when, it was much more so of the up in the air of, well, is there going to be a forfeit? Are we going to play this game? Is it going to be rescheduled? What have you? I was really conflicted because there's a lot of benefactors that go in the Bills' direction. if they get a forfeit win, obviously they get a free victory that they didn't earn. That's pretty straightforward. But you also get extra rest for one of the hottest teams in the NFL that you have to play on a short week. And that was before that they had decided to move that game to Tuesday. But if there are any more tests that come out positive within the next 5 days, the game's not happening. And the Chiefs game will move back to Thursday, and the Bills will ultimately, they wouldn't have been preparing for the Chiefs throughout that duration of time that they had off. They wouldn't be preparing for the Chiefs for 2 weeks if it were a quote unquote bye week, like typically. But it's really, I was really conflicted with it. And now looking at what they're doing, I'm not really a huge fan of it. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not really sure if this game can go on safely. I'm not sure if the Bills can go in there and nobody comes back from Tennessee without having been affected by the virus. That is not a 100% for me. I don't know that definitively, and I don't think any of the team personnel, any of the players, any of the coaches, any of them really know that either. So I'm not sure if I'm entirely confident that this game goes on Tuesday. Personally, I would have preferred. I don't like seeing teams win by a forfeit. Don't get me wrong, but when considering the safety of the Buffalo Bills and how good they are this season, how genuinely good I believe they are, it would really suck to see them going to Tennessee and come back with one of their key football players, or any football players for that matter, come back with having been affected by the virus. So it's really been a week of confliction for me, not going to lie.
Yeah, Dan, he brings up an interesting point. I'd like to see the Buffalo Bills play. I'd like to see them defeat the Tennessee Titans. But you got to think that, Clayton brings up a great point, is you run the risk of one of your own players possibly catching something. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. So, that's definitely an interesting take. What I do is look at last week, that defensive tackle from the Raiders ended up testing positive for COVID-19. And knock on wood, let's cross our fingers, it has not seemed to affect the Buffalo Bills. And he just so happened to be a defensive tackle who was breathing in the face of one of our offensive linemen for damn 4 quarters, and everything seemed to be okay. So,
and hugging Josh Allen after the game.
And hugging Josh Allen as well. That bastard. So here's the thing, right? I am not under the impression that this game is going to be played. Really just the way that it's been going. Last night I sent out a tweet saying, please, and so are y'all cool? Say that I go to bed and not wake up and see another positive case from the Titans, and it happened. And so, say, for example, that by some odd miracle, that there is not another positive case going into it. 5 days without a positive case. Worst case scenario, there might be one person who might have some type of a longer of the incubation rate of the incubation period than others. Then I feel like we should be okay. But I feel like we're protected, because the second that a new case arises within either once we wake up in the morning, right up until late Monday night or early Tuesday, we'll be good. So say that this game goes on, then I have full confidence that it will be a safe one.
And Joe, I'm interested to hear your take on this. Let's say you had to take your Bills hat off, and now you have to come at it from the point of the Tennessee Titans. You're severely undermanned, because you're 3-0. You had a great start to your season so far. All this chaos and mayhem is going on in your facility. It's just absolute chaos. But if you're coming at it from the Titans, how about you turn your hat backwards for this? By the way, So would you? Do you think that they could pull some sleight of hand and say, okay, we have someone else that has tested positive for COVID, but we're not going to release that until Friday or Saturday, or probably do that just so the game does get canceled in lieu of all these of all the things that are going on?
Well, it's so hard to think of it from a Tennessee Titans standpoint, because we just want to be mad at the 10 to 15 players who are at the college. Listen, there's something to be said about your peers forcing you to realize your mistakes. And if the Tennessee Titans having to play shorthanded because of some morons who felt like they needed to get practice in when they were told not to, then that's their concern, and that's something they have to live with. From a coaching staff or front office perspective, if you're holding back on someone having something like this that could be potentially life-threatening, if you're holding back for a game, then you really have to question your morals at that point. You really have to question who you are as a person. I understand, hey, we want to win football games. Hey, we want to make some money. You're a 3-0 football team. You just had a bye week. If you're as good as you say you are, you just went to the AFC Championship game last year. It doesn't matter. You should be ready to go. You should be ready to go. And the fact that you have some selfish players on your team who aren't willing to follow the rules, whatever you guys think about the virus, I don't care. The rules were set in place, right? It's not about the virus anymore. It's about following the rules. And so for them not to be able to do that, I have no sympathy. And I saw it in the chat already, people saying, hey, the Titans won't have time to practice, all those things. First of all, they are getting virtual practices in. I don't care if they're not at their facility. They're getting virtual practices in. They're not the same. I get it. But for me to have sympathy for this team, at this point, it's really hard as a Bills fan to do that, or as a football fan to do that. I think Greg, it was you put on Twitter, one of the cool things that we play this game is there's going to be 30 other fan bases cheering for the Buffalo Bills because
absolutely.
What the hell?
Yeah, nobody is going to be rooting for the Titans.
No.
Absolutely. And then just to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown, since 10-1, I'm just naming the major players here. You got Christian Fulton, slot corner, on October 1st. October 2nd, you got Cameron Baston. You got October 2nd, Adam Humphries. October 3rd, Jeffrey Simmons, who has 165 defensive tackles, spots logged. Corey Davis just today, actually, coming in. And then the receivers that they can actually substitute in for the receivers that they're losing have logged a total of 82 combined snaps on the season. So, I mean, they're going to be severely undermanned by their own accord. It's not something that was, crazy. And it seems to set the precedent for what's going to go on for teams during the bye week throughout the season, because this was the first bye week. So what are teams going to be doing to not have this happen to them going forward in the bye weeks that may happen to happen? So, and I mean, if I could try to have a serious discussion about the game itself, I wanted to start with Clayton here on this. We always like to bring in the previous game, the Raiders game. We're going to bring in this week to talk about the Titans. Two things that you saw, and I'm going to start with Clayton, go to Dan, and then Greg, and then I'll clean up with Joe again. Two things you would take from the Raiders game and bring it to Tennessee. Like, if they were full man, I understand that's a different story.
Yep.
But what were the two things you would have taken from the Raiders game and said, okay, I want to see that again against the Titans?
I would say the interior defensive line performing the way that they did last week in order to contain Josh Jacobs for his 3.1 yards per carry. That's a must this week against the Titans if you hope to replicate that performance from the Raiders game. That Derrick Henry is the motor that makes that makes that offense run. He really is. And that's really what sets up play action passing. Before all these wide receivers aren't going to be playing, before when they were going to play in this game, I was more so worried about that. But now that they're down Corey Davis, they're down Adam Humphries, they're really just left with A.J. Brown and Jonnu Smith at tight end. So I'm not necessarily concerned about their passing attack, but if Derrick Henry gets going, that's going to be a problem for the Bills' defense. They need to stop that before it can even get going. And really that kind of goes into how they played in the second half. They need to continue to play aggressive, force the issue on the defensive side of the ball. I understand that this front four hasn't done an incredible job of getting pressure in the first four games this season. Okay, well, in the second half, you saw them draw up blitzes and you saw them manufacture pressure in that facet. So I'm hoping to see a little bit more of that in passing situations, because I feel like if you get some pressure on Tannehill and force him to get off his spot and he's uncomfortable in the pocket, he's just simply not the same quarterback. So stopping Derrick Henry, obviously, and then forcing Ryan Tannehill into making mistakes when he has to stretch the field.
Dan, what do you think?
And so I think that we really need to go on ahead and we need to take a page out of the book that we used this past Sunday, because when you look at the Raiders and you look at the Titans, they really gravitate toward their two biggest weapons, and that just so happens to be their running back and their tight end. Last week, we ended up doing very well right up against both of them, especially once Josh Norman ended up sort of getting that interception off the tight end. For the most part, he sort of burned us a little bit. Crossing my fingers that Milano will be back, or otherwise it's going to be a very, very long day right in that atmosphere. But, I mean, so many people talk about Derrick Henry, but, I mean, realistically, within his career facing the Buffalo Bills, I mean, he really hasn't done much. Back in 2018, he ran for 56 yards. Back in 2019, last year, he only ran for 78, which is still pretty good. But for the most part, we did contain him from that 14-7 win. So as long as we find a way to contain him, never let Ryan Tannehill establish that play action, then I really think that we have a really good shot in sort of containing their offense and really being able to expose their defense, which is a great segue right into the second point. This Tennessee Titans defense, fully healthy, they were among the bottom of the league Like, I mean, like they've only had 4 sacks so far this year. They're allowing 24.7 points per game, 422 yards per game, 166 rush yards average per game. I mean, I wasn't scared of this Tennessee Titans team defensively going into it before this COVID thing happened. But now that they're a skeleton of what they were, it's going to be a long day for their defense. And frankly, I think as long as we take a similar game plan that we had this past Sunday and make the implementation into this Tuesday, then things are going to go good.
Greg, what do you got?
Well, I mean, building off of what Dan said, not only are their defensive metrics really poor, add in the fact that those defensive metrics are against Denver, Jacksonville, and Minnesota. So they have a terrible defense against 3 terrible offenses. Yep. That it's really, really rough to what they put together, which is odd because they've been historically a pretty strong defensive team. That's been Vrabel's calling card. I guess not dissimilar to the Bills. Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier, I guess, if we're being honest. So it's just something that I'm totally upside down with this team. I've spent 20 years, battling and scratching and clawing for field goals and hoping the defense can, keep teams under control and win the turnover battle and, hope that we get a good special teams play. And now all of a sudden, screw it. I don't care. We're going to outscore them anyways. I'm just not used to this. I just don't know how to process this. So now going up against a team where they're already shorthanded with a ton of their secondary out on a defense that's already not that great to begin with, I keep waiting that, each week I've explained on our show that, all right, this is the week that we're going to balance things back out. This team got run on a ton the week before. We're going to, really go back to the 50-50 ball. It would have been that Vegas Raiders game. I mean, they got crushed and just punched in the mouth by the Patriots, 240 yards rushing. We still just chuck the ball over the field. That's what we are. We are a passing offense now. That's just what we're going to do. We're good at it. We can use jet motion. We can use play action. We can use the pre-snap, eye candy. We can have, calculated, dialed in deep shots. That's just the kind of offense we're going to run no matter what. And I don't think Tennessee can do much about it.
Joe, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah. Going on. Well, first I'll talk about one that I think is unfair, but I think it's necessary and it has to be said. I want to see improvement out of Josh Norman and continue to see him rise up. He had a really good fourth quarter last week. I'm going to say he had a good game overall. I think a lot of people fell in love with him slapping out the ball or punching out the ball late in that game, which was awesome. He did a great job. But now with Levi Wallace being out, we need to see more out of him. I want to see fourth quarter Josh Norman in the game against the Titans. I think that'll be great. And then, as Greg was talking about our offense, I just throw more jump balls to Stephon Diggs. Did you see that? He'll just take it. He's just going to take it. Just throw it up there, and he's going to get it, and you'll be fine. Touchdown.
It's amazing what difference that animal did has made to this offense and how he makes this offense good. And I mean, I'm just going to piggyback off of everyone here because and I think Greg was one that talked about it. You're talking about Denver, Jacksonville, and Minnesota, who have a combined record of 3-9. The Titans beat them by 2, beat them by 3, beat them by 1, and that's with a +5 turnover differential. So they have beaten a team. They've beaten 3 teams that are 3-9 by a combined 6 points. And then you look at the Buffalo Bills. So I was like, you know what? So let me take another look. And this is the actual part. When you say that hashtag or checks notes, I'm checking my notes literally right now. The Buffalo Bills are only +1 over their first 4 games, which is kind of shocking because it doesn't seem like they're not really turning the ball over a lot. So then you look at the opponent's record is that, 6 wins, 10 losses of their opponents. But when you think about it, their first 2 games, obviously against the Jets and Dolphins, they're 1-7. They beat them by a combined 6 points. And then you look at or an average of 6 points. And you look at the Rams and Raiders, teams that are 5-3, they beat them by, an average of 5 points per game. So I think, off of all those points, stopping, I said it last week, and I think it was on the tailgate, Clayton. I said stopping Josh Jacobs wasn't the number one priority of the offense because of the defense because of Derek Carr's efficiency throwing 74% up until that point. The nickel and dime West Coast offense that Gruden is trying to bring back from 1999. I don't know why he's trying to do that, but that being said, that's the progress that was going through. So I didn't think Jacobs was a huge problem. You look at Tennessee, they're being outrushed by 111 yards on the season. So even though Henry is that home run hitter that you have to be mindful of, it's not like they're outrunning everybody in what they're doing. They're actually getting outgained in those games against those horrible teams. So it's hard to pick to see what the Bills would do. I mean, this almost is going to look like, in my opinion, I think it's going to look like a preseason game after the second quarter, because you're going to see the Bills might have such a big lead that they're going to start putting in, second and third string guys. And it's going to be, okay, go ahead. Hey, Matt Barkley, have fun. You got a 28-7 lead. What's up? How you doing? So that all being said, I mean, it's going to be so interesting to see. Like, what is one thing, and I'll start with Joe now, and then I'll kick it over to Dan and Clayton and Greg. What is one thing that would shock you in this game coming up against the Titans? Like, if it is played on a Tuesday, I mean, which
I was
is
going to say,
insane.
my fact that it's going to be played, like that.
The fact that it's actually played. So what is, I mean, before we get to that, I want to thank Bills fan 1970. We need to replace the current G7 with you guys. Okay. Thank you for the donation.
First Bills, Titans, then peace in the Middle East. We got it.
I don't, ever since I fought my way out of that cave, I haven't been the same. But so Joe, just saying that, what is one thing that would surprise you in this game that you go, okay, well, I didn't see that coming. Like, that could happen on Tuesday. What's one of those things that can happen? Well, I mean, other than the game actually being played.
Right. Yeah. So I hate when you make me first. I like stealing all the other guys' answers. It makes me like easy. Like, listening to that, I'm like, oh yeah, I can say that.
You and Aaron Quinn both.
I think what would really surprise me in this game is if Josh Allen did not throw for over, let's say, 285 yards. I think that would really surprise me in this game.
Oh, that's a good one. That's next up. What are you, Greg? Yep, Greg's up, I think. Yep. I've been drinking too much. I don't know if Greg's up.
I think you threw off the order, but it's all right.
My bad.
It's something that I think that we're gonna. I don't know. It's hard to know what we're gonna see in a game like this to be able to guess. I'll be honestly shocked if we do see the game played. I'm still kind of getting my mind around what we're gonna do, pivoting back and forth.
All right. And so for me, I would sincerely be shocked, say that this game does play, that the Bills punt more than once. There's so many mismatch. There are so many mismatches from this offense and defense that I would be shocked. Say that Bojo goes out in the field more than once.
Leave him on the bus.
Leave him on the bus. We don't even need him. And I mean, this might even be more of a bold prediction, and this is sort of off topic, but no one's talking about the fact that their long snapper has COVID. No one on that team knows how to long snap. No one knows how to long snap on that damn team. I can almost guarantee you that there is going to be several fuck-ups.
If you're a quarterback, you can long snap. Let me just put it that way. It's the same type of...
I really hope that Ryan Tannehill is there.
Yeah. I would love to see
that is fantastic.
He might have to be by that point.
That would be fantastic.
All right, Clay, what do you got? What's the one thing that would surprise you in this Tennessee Bills game if it does?
One thing. I'd say if you saw a Titans wide receiver have over 100 wide receiving yards, to be honest with you. I really don't see that offense having much success, if any, against the Bills this week. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for the Bills to maybe have some inflation to their defensive stats, similar to the week 1 matchup against the Jets. But to be quite honest, I tend to agree with everybody on the screen. I'll be pretty surprised if we see this game even played. I think the next time you'll see the Bills play will be against the Chiefs. There's just so many surrounding factors, so many aspects of this that have to be considered. And, just the likelihood of, given the situation in Tennessee and how it's played out this week, I'd be really surprised if it happened.
I can't believe I give the 4 of you low-hanging fruit, and you guys don't even pluck it off. The surprising thing would be Tennessee winning this game if it's played.
Wait, we're considering that?
That's not even in the realm of possibility here.
They have about as much chance of winning this game as Corey Davis does playing in it. No,
I just had to look. So I wanted to check and see with the 100-yard receiving game. I was like, oh, that's a good question. Wait a minute. Who the hell are their receivers? The 100-yard game would have to come from a human named Nick Westbrook that I just learned existed. A person named Khalif Raymond. So I knew Khalif Raymond was actually a player. But Nick Westbrook, I just learned he's walking the earth right now.
How dare you spit on the good name of Cody Hollister, who's played 4 snaps for the Titans this year? How dare you?
Yeah, I don't really understand how that's going to work.
No, I would. But here's the craziest part. You guys talk about stats, talk about Josh Allen stats. We've loved to talk about ever since the 300, the 400, and he's been lighting up the scoreboard. I would be surprised if he threw for over 250 in this game, and that's not being a hater on Josh Allen. I'm just saying that they're gonna be in such a position in this game. I think early on that he won't have to throw. Like he might not even be in the game in the third quarter. As far as that goes. So all things considered, I don't know if it doesn't seem like a game where the Buffalo Bills would have to replicate their offensive barrage that they've had the whole year in order to win the game. It seems like they can do a bunch of different things, and they've proven they can do a bunch of different things offensively throughout this season, that they don't have to bring their full gamut arsenal to Tennessee. I think you guys have mentioned it a couple of times. You're more excited about talking about the Kansas City game. Is that something that we should probably open up tonight? Do you want to, Clayton? You want to open up that? Here's how I'll start. Because
and so I haven't prepared for that whatsoever.
You have to prepare for that. I can't wait. I've been waiting for a week to throw this chicken wing in the middle of all of y'all. Yeah. Clayton, how do you feel about the offensive play calling going into Kansas City? I'll bypass the Titans. I'll say going into Kansas City.
Going into Kansas City?
Yes.
Well, if you told me this last year, I'm actually more concerned about defensive play calling. I'm not going to lie to you. Because after the Raiders game, I had a lot of concerns coming out of the Rams week. I really did. And I think a lot of people did, given the fact that they gave up a 25-point lead. That doesn't happen unless there's a lapse somewhere along the lines, not only execution, but coaching as well. So I'm actually more concerned about the defensive play calling, given that you're playing Patrick Mahomes and probably one of the best supporting casts that a quarterback could ever ask for. And it's just the offensive play calling. I'm not necessarily as worried about it because you have Josh Allen, really. Josh Allen's
the closest thing to a nice thing he's ever said about Brian Dable.
That is 110% true. That is 110% true. Yeah, I'm not necessarily worried about the offensive play calling going up against Kansas City. They did have a stellar performance against Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson, I don't believe he's the same quarterback as Josh Allen, given he just doesn't have the same arm talent, and he doesn't have the boundary weapons like Josh Allen does. And I feel like it's going to be an ultimate mismatch for the Bills offense, and I think that Josh Allen's going to take advantage of it. And I'll just say a bold prediction a week ahead of time. If there are over 100 total points scored, I think the Bills win this game.
Oh,
that's over sexy.
100.
That's sexy. Yeah.
Greg just got excited looking for more Tennessee wide receivers. He just caught him off guard. Joe, what do you think? I think if we're going into Tennessee, if we're going into Kansas City, because this seems to be a little bit more of it's a sexier game to talk about because you feel the Buffalo Bills will be 5-0 going into that game. What is one thing that you would be looking forward to in that game? When they end up playing Kansas City?
I'm not.
You're not? You're going to be nervous?
So all right, if you've been following me on my channel, and I think I've said on some of these roundtables too, I was pretty much guaranteeing a victory against Kansas City when we played on Thursday night. I was pretty much guaranteeing it. I thought there was no way on a short week that the Kansas City Chiefs could come into Buffalo and beat this team. Now we're talking about, and then now, of course, this is all if the Bills play on Tuesday. You're talking about the Bills having short rest and the Chiefs having a full week of rest. That changes the whole narrative. That changes everything. I mean, if there's one team that's made out well, no one's made out well in COVID. Or the pandemic. I'm sorry, I don't want to get demonetized.
Dan already took care of that earlier. Don't worry about it.
But if there's one team that has made out well, it's Kansas City. I mean, if you look at the schedule that they've played and how it's come about for them, so far, that can all change obviously in 1 second, but. If you're looking at this Kansas City game, if you're asking about the offense, I'm not worried about the offensive play calling. Again, I think we have the talent on offense, and it shows every single week the talent that we have on offense. Like Greg was talking about earlier, we came into a game where the Patriots just put 200 plus yards rushing against the Las Vegas Raiders, and we said, I don't care. We'll still throw the ball for almost 300 yards. Like, I don't care what you did. So we're finding our ways to win. We're winning by the way Buffalo wants to win. So I'm excited about the offense. Obviously, this defense is going to struggle against Patrick Mahomes. Everybody struggles against Patrick Mahomes. But I just think that this game is more evenly matched, if not more favoring the Kansas City Chiefs, especially if we do play that game on Tuesday.
Greg, what do you got, bud?
So I actually like the idea of the crazy scoring that Clayton threw out there. I think that that's actually very possible, and the schedule challenge that Joe throws out there is real. So I got into that on Twitter with a couple of people because they were talking about, oh, that's not fair, and that, you know, if it happens the other way, and, you know, we're all predicting the 70% likelihood that Tennessee does have another positive test. Well, that means now the Bills get to play the Chiefs on 10 days rest when they're coming off 4 days rest, and they have to travel, and we get to sit at home for 10 days. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a Bills fan. I'm gonna be excited about that, but that sure as hell ain't fair for Kansas City. Yeah. So it's, you know, fairness is something that everybody just needs to get used to. The idea that's not going to be an expectation this season. The fairness is not going to be the reality of what we have to deal with. We already have some stadiums that have fans in it and others that don't. We have all kinds of different people that are playing shorthanded. Was it fair that New England had to play Kansas City without Cam Newton? No, but it doesn't matter. They still got their butt whooped. It just, you know, it's just the reality of what is going to happen this season. So I would prefer that I'm going to approach it from the way that the schedule was set. That at first we were going to have 4 days rest to play Kansas City, and now if they switch this around, we have 5 days. That's one extra day. They still have to come on the road. We still have our game plan together. I'm still excited about that game, and I hope that we go in there and can pull out a win in both games. I think it's going to be a crazy shootout. I love the fact that both teams are now very much high-scoring offenses with opportunistic defenses that can try to make a play at the right time. They're not the bend but don't break, you know, try to, stop every other team. It's that, hey, can you get a turnover or a sack or a big play when it matters? Because every possession means more points for your team. That's a fun brand of football to watch, and I think it's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah, entering the ninth stage of Jumanji in 2020. I'm not really sure what to expect from that Kansas City game. Dan, I know you haven't done your research on it yet, but if you had to give your preliminary thoughts on Kansas City versus Buffalo, what would you do?
And so I would probably have to say that I'm also going to be in the camp of expecting this to be a shootout. But for some reason, man, I am just hoping that our defense can figure it out. One thing that sort of soothes me and sort of calms me down is the fact that we did not have a preseason. And now that we're going into the 5th game of the year and the 6th game of the year, and now that these new pieces that have been added to our defense have had time to finally mesh, that our defense might start showing out again. And once that happens, I don't care who is the quarterback that we are facing, they're going to make it difficult on him. During my preseason predictions, I did have the Bills losing their first game against the Kansas City Chiefs. But once you take for an account, like they said that they would have played 3 games in a 10-day period, I think, right? So, I mean, I'm really hoping that the fatigue sets in, but really at the end of the day, I do foresee it being a shutout, and I am just praying that our defense can finally get back to its 2019 caliber.
You mean shootout, though, right? You said shutout. Shootout. Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm
they
fine with
shut out
a
the
shutout
Chiefs.
too.
That'd be fantastic.
Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah, trust me. Like, I mean, I would be the most arrogant guy on the face of the planet if that happened.
If you're not already.
If you called that as your shot, you get that tattooed on yourself. Right there. I'm the guy who called the Bills shutting out the Chiefs. Like that, you could wear that forever.
Absolutely, no question. Like you know what? When I think about the Chiefs game itself, you know, there two things I've been thinking about as I've been going through the season and what's been going on with the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. The one thing is, I worried about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, this guy is a different kind of animal, and there's a reason that Andy Reid would take a running back in the first round of an offense that's already so potent with everything else. So that he worries me as far as a dynamic player that could do a bunch of different things on the field. That's one. Two, selfishly, I want a Bills victory to kind of, I don't know, not point the finger or say anything else, but how many years did we have to hear after his MVP year, after they won the Super Bowl? Yeah, the Bills could have drafted Mahomes. how many times as Bills fans do we have to listen to that nonsense? If the Buffalo Bills go or stay at home, they're not going into Kansas City. If they stay home and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, it's almost like, okay, see, I know it's a regular season game. It won't mean anything when the playoffs come around because we assume the Buffalo Bills are going to be there as well. You start to talk about what manifested all of those things. And I always like to, we always talk about it here about, okay, they gave up on Mahomes. They passed on Mahomes. They traded the pick back. Who'd they get? Oh, wait, they got a guy. Who'd they get that in that draft? Let me think. Trey White. Okay, they got him. And they got the resources, among other things, to get Allen and Edmonds. So in my estimation, if you break it down to brass tacks, it's almost like, okay, you traded Patrick Mahomes for Edmonds, Allen, and White. The way things have been going, I think a lot of people would have made that trade. You got three, really, really good pieces of your team for one player who's been an MVP and a Super Bowl champion already. Like, it's kind of hard to make that trade-off. But if you beat Kansas City, it's almost like, okay, that topic can be put to bed until the playoffs. But if Kansas City comes in and beats Buffalo, and it's because of Mahomes, you're going to hear the rumblings once again, hey, we could have drafted him. We could have drafted him. And all this other stuff. So like I said, selfishly, I just hope that the Buffalo Bills will beat the Kansas City Chiefs in that regard. But if I had to pick a score for that game, dang, that'd be tough. I like the idea of a shootout, but I think that's such a big onus will be put on those offenses, and they're going to be focused on so much. I wouldn't be surprised at a 24-20 game, like a playoff type atmosphere game of that magnitude. So, did I make you mad, Joe? My bad.
I don't get mad. No. We all know you're crazy, so it's fine. You said the Bills would be 9-7, so
I'm also a man who went on a live at a post game and said if we got 200 likes, I'd let Paul put me through a table.
Right, yeah. So.
And the four of you gentlemen helped him. Like
I still think you should have set it on fire.
I keep telling you, I'm not wearing a flannel shirt. I'm not Mick Foley. I'm not going through a table where it's on fire.
There's no thumbtacks. It's just fire.
That'd be your next suggestion. But all right. So if we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, guys, I'll go around the table like this. I'll start with Clayton, Dan, and then Joe, and then I'll clean it up with Greg. The Buffalo Bills. What's your feeling about this team going 5-0? Like at the beginning of the season, if you're sitting there and you're going through the schedule predictions, Dan mentioned it a little bit earlier. You're going through the schedule predictions. You're saying, okay. Number one, did you think the Buffalo Bills were going to go 5-0 at this point? Number two, what does this mean for this team going forward? Let's just try to look ahead a little bit.
It definitely falls in line with my expectation, but how they went about going 5-0, it definitely does not fall in line with that, because I expected Josh Allen to have a good year and go from 2019 to have a better season this season, but I was not expecting him to come out guns blazing just to start the year. I was expecting maybe a little bit, he might ease into it around mid-season. He might start peaking, and, that's when you start seeing him have the games that he's had to start this season. But no, the whole first month of the season, you're seeing Josh Allen throwing for 300-400 yards and completing at a 71% clip. I definitely wasn't expecting that, and I definitely wasn't expecting this defense to kind of not really have the same identity that they had at the end of last season. But then again, there aren't really many defenses that are maintaining their identity from the previous season. So that kind of just falls in line with the mean of the NFL right now. So I expected them to start 5-0, and you could say those were lofty expectations considering they've literally never started 5-0 in my entire life. So it has definitely been a season where, there's some new things going on. And a 5-0 start, Mario, I don't think I actually, you didn't predict a 5-0 start, did you?
No, I did not. No, I think I had him at 4-1 at this point.
Okay. And the first loss would have been to the Titans.
I think they lost to the Titans, yes. I think the Titans, they were losing to the Titans, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's another reason why you shouldn't listen to me. You should listen to these four guys. That's what I keep telling you guys. No one listens to me, I swear to God. So Dan, Buffalo Bills go 5-0 against the Titans. Was that in line with the schedule prediction that you and I did during the summer?
Yes. And so I do think that me and Clayton are on the same page where I thought that we were going to get to 5-0, but by this time riding on the back of our defense. I did expect Josh Allen to take a step, but I mean, if you were to tell me that Josh Allen was going to be in the MVP conversation, I would have looked at you and thought that you were insane, like right at that point. I mean, it's funny too, because I almost wonder if the success of Josh Allen has to do with no fans in the stands, especially since he's been interviewed in the past saying that he always gets so jazzed up during games. But since it's absolutely crickets and the only thing he's hearing is just his own offensive play calls and the defense is the reason that he's been able to dial back and actually be able to make these plays. I love what I see from this team. Soon as when we picked up Stephon Diggs, I knew that it was about to completely open up the playbook, but safe to say they have significantly exceeded my expectations. 5-0, yes, but not this way. 5-0, not this way.
Not this way. Not this
Yeah. I would say that the offense has definitely exceeded expectations, and I agree with the other two gentlemen. Like, if you were told me that Josh Allen was a top 10 QB right now, I'd be like, yeah, that'd be like. But I mean, I think for argument's sake, even though I think he's in the top 2, for argument's sake, he's definitely a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. It's Russell Wilson. I think Josh Allen goes right after Russell Wilson, and then you have Aaron Rodgers. For some people putting Rodgers above Allen, whatever, that's fine.
I would.
What's that?
I would.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, there are arguments to be made, but yeah, I mean, to see that he's a top 3 QB right now in the NFL is just more than I think anybody would have expected out of Josh Allen, and that just doesn't just go to speak for the Josh Allen now. If Josh Allen's this good this early in his 3rd year, what is the potential for him moving forward? I mean, I think the sky's the limit here for this kid, right? I mean, we're seeing for the first time in a long time in Buffalo or anywhere, we're seeing a guy who gets drafted. We're like, yeah, but he has a really high ceiling, and that was Josh Allen. He had a low floor, high ceiling. And we're finally saying he's hitting that ceiling. He's getting close to that ceiling, and we're about to see possibly an MVP type Josh Allen that no one really expected coming out of high school or college. But as far as the season goes, as far as predictions go, I think I fall in line with both Clayton and Dan. Like, yeah, 5-0 is definitely doable, was easily on most people's calendars or most people's schedule predictions. We thought Tennessee would give us a tough matchup last year. The game was 14-7. Duke Williams caught the game-winning touchdown pass. But yeah, this year, obviously, it doesn't look like it's going to be much of an issue. If we lose the Titans, I don't know what we do. But I think it falls in line. It creates an exciting matchup in Week 6 against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm excited for that.
Greg, what do you got, bud?
I'm just confused. I had Josh Allen predicted for 5,300 passing yards and 60 total touchdowns. And the Bills 3rd in the NFL in scoring. So this is pretty spot on to exactly what I thought was going to happen. I did have them 5-0 at this point as part of going into. We had debated and waffled back and forth between 12-4 and 13-3 as things were coming together. I said this is the deepest roster in my adult life during a season where continuity and depth is going to be tested and valued more than any other season we've ever seen. I think we're seeing that, and that's why they got off to a hot start. That's why they're playing so well and hitting their stride earlier. So going forward with all of that, I do think there's going to be some tough games. I did obviously predict that this was going to be a much tougher game when I thought it was going to be A.J. Brown and Corey Davis and their full secondary. And they are an undefeated team, so, I mean, that's not false. Mario, you pointed out the flaws in that's not a standard undefeated with who they beat and how close those games were. But, a team that played in the AFC Championship game that's undefeated, this shouldn't be chalked up as some easy win. But when you look at how many players they could be missing, if we do play them on Tuesday, I would be sorely disappointed if they didn't win that game. I do think that 5-0 is going to matter. I think that now you're talking about several, the Raiders, the Titans, those are games that could matter as the game goes on. Those are conference wins that impact the tiebreakers. And now we're getting into the tougher part of the schedule where several of our upcoming games, you're talking about the Chiefs, the Seahawks, the Patriots, some really legitimate, the most we're going to be tested, in my opinion, is those 3 games, besides maybe the Steelers towards the end of the year. So getting wins in those games are going to be enormous. So, even if we went, let's say on the downside, say we went 1-2 out of those 3 games, you're still talking about, plus the Jets, which obviously that is going to be a win. You're talking about if we went 1-2 in those really 3 tough games, you're still talking about being 7-2 overall.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. That's lofty stuff we haven't seen in a long time. So, and that's if we lose 2 of those games. So the fact that we're already banking those kind of wins and setting ourselves up for the long run here, this is going to be a really fun season for Bills fans.
Yeah, coming into this game, I was when you refer to the Jets, you're talking about the Kentucky Wildcats of the SEC, right? That's pretty much what they are. But coming into this game, if they, as Greg said, if they did have a lot of their players available, I was sitting there at one point. I was saying, okay, was this a potential playoff matchup that can happen in maybe the divisional round or something there? But then I started looking at it. I'm like, wait. Let me look at the teams that they've played. Okay, 1-3, 1-3, 1-3 are the 3 teams they played. Okay, they've had a similar road. Sounds like 2019 for the Bills, when they were winning their games at the beginning of the year and everyone's going, oh, well, who'd they beat? Doesn't matter. They're on your schedule, okay? That's what I get a little bit so upset about what's going on earlier in the season. They beat the Jets and the Dolphins. Okay, all right, they beat the Jets and the Dolphins. Jets and the Dolphins are not very good football teams this year. However, Allen threw for 700 yards against both of those teams, okay? He dominated teams he was supposed to dominate. So it wasn't like he was out there throwing for 210 and 225 and rushing for 2 touchdowns and he was barely eking out wins. When you get back to the Buffalo Bills and coming up at 5-0, to be 5-0 during this season, which is an absolutely insane season, first of all, you start to think about, okay, how did they get here? Everyone's mentioned it. I didn't think the Bills were going to be scoring this many points this early in the season. I thought maybe by week 7, week 8, week 9, their offense would start clicking. I think that's why it's so interesting and scary at the same time for Buffalo Bills fans, because you're sitting there going, okay, they're winning games, putting up 30 a game, and they're moving the ball with ease. They have one of the fewest 3-and-outs in the NFL. So it's not that, okay, on drives where they don't score, they're still moving the ball. They're still able to generate, a drive, shift the field, and do a bunch of things like that. So which has helped their defense a little bit. But I think because of how they got here to this 5-0, it's starting to worry some fans, because you want to talk about high-scoring, potent offenses that go to the playoffs. Talk to an Atlanta Falcons fan. Talk to a San Diego Chargers fan when Rivers was there. I mean, I know they're in LA now, but this is what I'm saying. You talk about those teams that had quarterbacks that would put up 4,000 yards every year, throw 30 touchdowns every year, and they would have offensive weapons, but then they never would win anything. So I think that's the kind of the apprehension, at least in my mind, that I have sometimes, like, okay, all right, is this a Matt Ryan situation? Is this a Phillip Rivers situation where they're putting up a lot of points, they're beating teams, but when it comes to the playoff time, we know, I mean, there's a reason why the saying is defense wins championships. I don't know if in the new NFL that constitutes anymore, but I still believe in it. And the fact that, I mean, the Patriots beat the Rams 13-3, but that's nonetheless. Point being, I think that's what we're working. Can this Buffalo Bills team and the defense, which we thought we had, I mean, because a lot of people had the defense way up here and the offense, okay, are they going to make improvements? And it's kind of did like a shift. So you're sitting there going, okay, the defense is still good. Like, let's just not write them off. It's just the offense is just lights out so much higher than we thought they were going to be coming into the season. And it is a very, very pleasant surprise to everyone except for Greg, who had Allen throwing 60 touchdowns. So that's what happens. So, so we're getting close to that hour, ladies and gentlemen. The last 2 things, #Nation, thank you for joining us. We're going to be going through our bold predictions and our score predictions for the game. Guys kind of hinted at a few things here and there, but we're going to have some bold predictions. I may have leaked mine a little bit earlier tonight, but if you want to go check that out. Make sure you check all these guys out in the description, all their YouTube channels. You can find them. All their Twitter handles are underneath their pictures. Let me go round robin. We'll kick it back the other way. We'll go Greg, Joe, Dan, and then Clayton. Bold predictions for the game, and Greg, I can't remember if you do a score prediction for the game. So if you be so kind to give us one bold prediction for the Titans game and one score prediction for the game.
Bold prediction for the Titans game. I'll go with that we see the first defensive touchdown of the season. I think it'll be maybe on a peanut punch. It'd be kind of cool if Norman does that again. But I think we see our first defensive touchdown, and I'm gonna say this ends up being a 38-17 game.
Ooh, I love it. Still staying in the 30s. Joe, what do you got, buddy?
Bold prediction. I'm gonna go. I have an infatuation with Andre Roberts this year. I really do. I love this guy so much, and what he brings to this team, and to get you all ready for something. I have something special coming up on Saturday on my channel, so make sure you check that out. We're talking about the special teams, but I just love Andre Roberts. So I'm gonna go ahead and say Andre Roberts gets a special teams touchdown. This might be my third week saying that, so. He's just really so close. I mean, if you watch him, the way he's running, I mean, you see that he's really so close to breaking one. I think he's going to break one soon. So I'm gonna go with Andre Roberts getting his first touchdown. Special team. I'll say special teams. Greg said defense. I'll go special teams. Score prediction: 31-13.
I hope that the defensive touchdown is scored by Trent Murphy just to piss people off.
Wouldn't piss me off, Greg. Would not piss me off. I love it, Clayton would be so mad. Why didn't you release that $9 million to the air, please?
A lot of other people would also be mad, but it's fine.
So Dan has his keels over on his chair over there. Bold prediction and the score for the Titans.
Yeah. And so I think that the Bills only punting once was bold enough, but I'll go on ahead and I'll just add another one. I think that there is going to be a turnover caused by whoever they put in as long snapper for Tennessee.
Ooh, I like that.
I think that there's going to be that right there. And then
no joke, that's a tough fill-in. Like to sign somebody off the street or to have one of your other players learn, that's a legit disadvantage.
Apparently Ryan Tannehill can do it according to
Mario. They're totally fine.
Oh my God. And so as far as a score, I legitimately see this being a slaughter. I mean, it's like going to be painful for Bills fans to watch because we're going to feel so bad what we're about to unleash on this damn team. 42-10 Bills.
42-10.
Damn.
I'm surprised that all three of you guys have them scoring double digits. Go ahead, Clayton. What do you got?
Well, I mean, I can never feel bad watching the Bills whoop some ass. Never. I mean, it's been a whole lifetime of wanting to watch them whoop some ass. But a bold prediction, I'm going to stick with – I mean, that's not necessarily bold. So I'll say Derrick Henry's held to less than 75 scrimmage yards in this game.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you like it? Every week, Mario. Every week. And for a score, on the Overtime podcast, I was saying 34-17, but that was to the expectation that they'd at least have, two starters out there. So I'll keep the offense the same, and I'm going to bump the Titans down to 10. 34-10 Bills.
34-10 Bills, and you took mine. I had 50. I was going to say 50 for Jacobs. I was going to say, or not Jacobs, Henry. I said he was going to have less than 50 yards rushing. But you took it, so I got to go somewhere else with it. You sniper, you 20-year-old sniper, laying in the weeds. So I do agree with the esteemed gentleman that spoke before me that the Buffalo Bills are going to whoop on the Titans. I think it's going to be a 35-3 game. I really don't think it's going to be close at all. And as far as a bold prediction for the game, since Clayton stole mine on the spot, I'm going to say Tannehill. Tannehill throws for less than 200 and does not finish the game. I don't think he finishes the game. Now, I'm not wishing the guy gets hurt. I just don't think he finishes the game. I think it's going to be so far out of reach that to preserve their season and their newly signed multi-million-dollar quarterback from him getting killed, I think they're going to probably take him out of the lineup. So let's go around real quick for the Hashtag Nation. Hashtag Nation, if you haven't seen any of these guys, they're the grinders of Bill's YouTube. We call them the Avengers. You guys double them the Avengers, but these guys grind it every day trying to give you their take on the Buffalo Bills, and they do a fabulous job at each one of their channels and everything that goes on. Let me start with Clayton, Dan, Joe, and then I'll clean up with Greg. Clayton, what's going on the Cold Front Report this week?
Well, actually, right now, I believe Jeremy – oh, no, we're a little bit past that. Never mind. Well, Jeremy went live with Lorenzo Alexander tonight at 9:30. That's every Thursday night, 9:30. Lorenzo comes onto the Facebook page, the YouTube and Twitter accounts. They go live. They break down the upcoming game. And every Tuesday, the Overtime podcast, myself and Jeff Uvino goes live at 8 p.m. every single Tuesday. And then, of course, our post-game show around 9 o'clock every Sunday after the game. So of course, we're on Twitter at Cold Front Report and on Instagram at Cold Front Report _ Bills News. And then on Facebook is the usual Cold Front Report / Buffalo Bills News.
Nice. Dan, what do you got coming up for the Don Mafia?
Yeah, man, for sure. So I ended up bringing my podcast onto my YouTube channel. So we just dropped our first episode right on my YouTube channel today. Me and Aaron Williams interviewed Mike and a legend, Takeo Spikes. Great interview,
Nice.
About 50 minutes. So, I mean, definitely check that out. Like we talked about their trash talking capabilities and rookie nights. And so apparently there's like this huge like hazing event that goes down with every single rookie each and every single year. It's very interesting. And then Saturday, I'm bringing on a Titans fan to do a fan v fan video. And then on Tuesday, say that there will be a game. I will be live streaming my reaction.
All right. This is great. This is freaking Aaron Williams, Takeo Spikes, Lorenzo Alexander. I get to talk to Paul after this. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Joe, what do you got coming up on Believers Talk?
I'm all by myself, man. So don't do that. Although being alone, talking to Paul, I mean, apples to oranges,
It's like wallpaper. Don't worry about it.
So yeah, I mean, everything's the same for me this week, except for I have a special thing coming out on Saturday. You'll see maybe some of these gentlemen that are joining us here today as I take a look at the quarter point of the Buffalo Bills season, and we do some grading of special teams, offense, defense. So make sure to check that out. But yeah, no matter when this game's played, Tuesday, Sunday, Thursday, midnight, on the moon, whatever, I'll be doing live play and reaction right here on Believers Talk. So make sure you check that out. And then also, every Monday we're live during halftime Monday Night Football. Tomorrow I'll be giving you my, my pregame for the Titans game. So check that out.
All right. Greg, big doings over at Cover One. What do you guys got going on?
Yeah, come on over, check us out. Like Clayton said, we have our Thursday night show, new show called Disguise Coverage. Make sure you check out Anthony Prohaska. Some new guys coming over that people are familiar with the Hoof joining Cover One. Excited about them on Tuesdays. Aaron and I going on Wednesdays and post game after every game. I talk about how much I hate primetime games because going live after a primetime game is terrible. So come on over, listen to me complain about things, all kinds of fun stuff like that.
So, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, all of the YouTube channels are going to be in the description. Make sure you give them a follow. For Clayton, Dan, Joe, and Greg, I am Mario. This is #SportsNation. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next week.